All right, I've been milking this this M3 polishing for darn near coming up on 2 weeks now, aren't I? Anyway, we have the camera set up, the lights set up, so we might as well make some videos. It's kind of what we do. So I figured I'd just kind of chat with you about the finishing, where we're at on the M3, some of the mistakes I've made, some of the wins I've had, and just show you generally how we're doing this. So this is actually a common question I get all the time from people. It's like, well, I don't have a climate controlled garage, or I have to polish in the driveway. What do I do? And so you're seeing it. This car has been in and out of here three or four times as we've kind of moved the Civic around to do some projects. And so all I do is, so this has been compounded, but it hasn't been finish polished, and it's all dusty and, you know, kind of there was a little bit of a bug trail somehow on the side of this thing. And so all I do is just clean each panel individually. So I know I'm going to polish this panel. Just grab some eraser, really soft towel like a Pluffle here, and I don't want to jack up or scratch it if I can help it. If I did any little bit of micro marring here, the Sonax Perfect Finish is going to take that out. But this is how you do it. Just clean section by section. So if I was going to polish this section, I just wipe it down and then polish. And then when you're about to coat it, wipe it down and polish. Just do each section, you know, one little spot at a time, and you can do it out in the darn driveway. It doesn't matter. So because I have been messing around in the climate control garage here, and this, you know, this sat outside most of the day yesterday, I'm able to just clean it up. It's also not a bad idea to wipe down with eraser after your compound. Wipe the oil content off and start fresh with your finishing step. So I've been using a normal pad. So I've been using a normal Rupes 5-inch pad. I find it to be not super stable on this rather hefty ExoV4 machine. This is the random orbital version. So I went over and grabbed some Rupes yellow pad, yellow foam. Now this foam was a little bit different, but the white foam from Rupes is a lot different than the yellow I was using. So I think we're still going to get the same result. I'm not priming on the fly. I don't know why. I go back and forth between priming on the fly. So the way you would prime on the fly is you would just put a couple of dots, hold it up on the panel, look at it, do a couple more dots, hold it up on the panel. I don't know. This, on this car with this polisher, I don't know why, but priming manually like this, just buttering the pad, just seems to be more efficient. Okay. And put a couple of dots. And we're going to make some passes. I'm just interested to see if the stability is a little better with the machine and this. Now I've already done the front clip. I've done the top. So now I'm just doing the doors in the back of the car. And when I'm finishing, I'm generally not blowing out the pad as often. Maybe every 3 or 4 sets of passes, I'll blow it out. And I also don't really worry so much because the foam gives me more interface. I don't worry about opening up the doors and stuff. I just go at it. I'm gonna go up a little bit since I gotta do the whole door. And also, you know, Perfect Finish wipes off so nicely that it's not a big deal if you do a big section, do like 3 or 4 sets of passes, and wipe it off after you're done. So I like to rather work overhead than down below. I'm running at speed 6, which is max speed, right around the clock, and then work it in. Notice I'm not super concerned about this area here, about getting every square inch of it. Doesn't really matter. There's a richness and a depth you get from Perfect Finish. It's probably partly the mineral oil that's causing the lubrication that's filling a bit. But generally speaking, you get just such a great look. You know, when Kilmer and Ward were here, we did a side-by-side comparison of having me do my process on one panel and then doing theirs, and we saw, you know, one of the biggest differences between doing perfect finish versus like 205 was just it just looked darker. So it's clearly leaving something behind, but whatever it leaves, I'm okay with. It was a big buzzword, you know, a big no-no several years ago. Notice also it's okay to, you know, the curve of the door is this way, and so to go left to right really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's why you see me doing more just straight up and down. And so with finishing, we just, you know, move along quicker. I used to condition myself so much to counting precisely. I think I very well may take the door handles off and get in there. I'm also going to be doing a little interior project as well, cleaning up all the Alcantara. I want to take the driver's seat out and lubricate all the joints because there's a little bit of a squeak to it. There was since the day I got it. They're the BMW performance seats. So I'd like to get that all cleaned up, squared away. This blue is such a good color though, man. Yeah, looks great. Really great. This side wasn't too bad, but the other side was all water spotted up. You know, what happens when you wax a car, when you do a sealant and wax like I had on this car, what happens is as it fails, you end up having to wash harder and you end up having to dry more, and which means you end up marring and scratching the surface. And so when you're waxing, this is why you'd want to do a decon and then just a quick finish polishing like what we're doing now, a single step. You'd want to do that more often than not so you don't end up with marring and scratching and stuff like that. So, but man, leaves such a nice finish. I find it's not really necessary to wash the car after this process if I do a good job cleaning up all the jams, which the last time I polished this I didn't do. That was the water spot attempt. I attempted to fix the water spots. All right, so I've done what, three sets of passes, so I'll go blow this out. I'll reserve judgment for a little later, but I think I like this pad better. I mean, you're seeing on camera, this is the first time I've used it on this machine. Again, this is a dual action, you know, free spinning machine, but I'm putting what is designed to be a forced rotation pad on. It's just narrower. So notice, I mean, we got this gap here. So if you just keep going over the gap with the flat pad, I mean, you're gonna miss the edge here and the edge here. And so you do still have to, even in finishing polish, I'm just out of force of habit, I tend to prefer to, you know, make sure that I'm getting both edges. So I will go over top of it, you know, with a large portion of the pad several times, but I do want to approach it a couple of passes of coming up to the edge of the pad, to the edge of the panel. If you're going to cheat it like I'm cheating it here in the finishing polish step. But in the compounding, I of course treated this section differently than that section. But on the finishing polish portion, I think it's okay to do it this way, just to do larger sections at a time. So if you haven't been watching the Civic project, I started to feel really good about it yesterday when we got the headlights working. You know, so I bought headlights, didn't realize it had another little daytime running light spot. And so then we had to figure that out. What bulbs do I need? And so I figured out all the bulbs. We got the city lights working, figured out how to change the fog lamps. It was just a good day. And so I also got them leveled so they won't be blinding people. And so it's you know, all stuff that I knew that I would do, but sometimes you second guess yourself on actually getting a project like that done correctly. Just so funny to me how cranky people have gotten about me modifying this car. It's so much better. It's already so much better. I haven't even done much to it yet. I like this machine. I really like it. I like it way more than the PXE80, the 3-inch. Or like even more is that look. Oh, makes it all worth it. Finish polishing is so much more fun than compounding, I think. Although, you know, some people prefer compounding because you see more of a result. To me, I like the act of moving the stuff around without having to worry too much about the result. I know the result. I know what I'm going to get with finishing. I don't have to chase it too much and get lights out, start looking from all kinds of weird angles and stuff. I just know that that is going to be good. Largely because we did a test spot. So I did pull the car out in the sun, and I saw one water spot come back. So we pulled out in the sun yesterday, sat out there, came back in here, cooled off. It's been sitting here for about a day, day and a half, and noticed one spot come back, but there's a bird etching, and where a bird took a dump on my paint, and so I'm gonna have to try to see if we can address that here. We're coming around to my failed spot where we blew through the clear. I'll talk about that in a minute. I think how I said that there. I said we blew through the clear. I always say me when I do something good and we when I do something bad. I'm sure you'll be looking now. Yeah, I recognize that. You do say that. You don't make any mistakes according to you, but I see mistakes all the time in your videos. Yep. Oh shoot, I still have to do the other side of the car. Forgot about that. I was like, man, I'm almost done. Michael Good is coming from the dent company on Friday. This time I'm gonna wait to coat it or do anything to it for him to go over the car. There's a little crease on the other door. So I'm going to do that. We also rolled the fenders and made some dents on the fenders of the Civic. I'm sure that video is going to go over real well. Oh boy, wait till people see that one. We're racking on the fender, rolling it, because that's what you got to do to get it, to be able to fit my 15x8s on there. Got my spoon wheels yesterday too. So fun, so good. Needless to say, oh, I forgot, I don't have to polish the rear bumper because we're going to be replacing that. Yeah, not my finest moment there. All right, so if you didn't watch the polishing or the compounding or water spot removal video and you're just catching this now, one of the things I was doing to the car had water spots all down the side. And so what I'd do is I'd use my IR lamp, I'd hold it, you know, 6 inches away or so, you know, something like this. And heating it, the goal was to heat it to around 135, 140 degrees, between 135 and 140. And so I was doing that, and when I'd heat it up, the concept is to heat it up, allow the paint to just start to swell, and then have the water spots or the etching, the mineral content come to the surface, and that way you can kind of scour it and grab it when you're compounding at temp. Rather than heating it up really quickly with a pad by making all kinds of passes, and then it, you know, sort of locking in that mineral etching or swelling to the point to where the etching was too low for the pad to grab. And so what I was doing here is the same thing I did with the rest of the car, same exact process where I was going like this, kind of waving back and forth. Next thing I know, I see some black smoke, and sure enough, our clear coat here. Now this clearly had been repainted at some point. I checked the temperature. I didn't come any higher than the rest of the car, well, this is the risk. Same thing with the risk of polishing in general, is that you can easily end up with something like that happen. So this failed, and so I bought a whole new bumper. The other interesting thing is there's water spots all along here. I did finish polishing the rest of this bumper, and so I didn't heat this section, and so there's water spots all over it still, all up in the edge here. And whereas over here I heated properly, none of the water spots came back. So the whole bumper was polished the same, with the exception of I've heated from here over, and then I stopped heating here where it failed. And sure enough, that's where the water spots start. Even though all these spots disappeared when I was polishing late last week, we ended up with them coming back. So I'm hoping my procedure worked on the rest of the car, because I don't see any others coming back, even though I've kind of heat cycled the car, if you will, outside. So I'm not going to polish the bumper, but let's polish the hood, the trunk lid. So remember, the trunk lid, this is all new fresh paint, and I did compound it just so that I maintain a consistent finish on the whole car. Another thing to note is that a lot of people will be saying, well, shoot, this hasn't been, this is just freshly painted, so you can't polish it. I was always told that I have to wait. Well, you don't have to wait. It doesn't take long for modern clear coats to off gas. The idea is that older clear coats will take 30, 60, 90 days to cure, especially if you have a new car. By the time it leaves the darn plant, it's cured. In most cases, ask your body shop, but the paint should be cured within a day or two, sometimes in 24 hours. I'm telling you, with this polisher, when you first get it, you're going to be struggling like I just was there. I went from one panel to the next. So I was doing the side of the car, and then I come up here and the thing's not spinning because I'm not holding it flat. So you'll find that it takes a little bit of time if you get one of these to kind of get it right. But yeah, if you can avoid repainting, as good as this paint job is from IND, it's still not nearly as good as a factory finish. Like on the doors, makes me want to redo the whole car so it all looks identical. Pretty good. The beauty of having multiple cars is I'm about checked out of polishing here. So I think I'm going to shut her down and then go work on something else. I've been working on compiling my Milwaukee list. I've got to get that done. It's daunting. They have 6,000 different tools. Trying to figure out where to start and how to sift through it, and I'm not going to be able to do I'm not going to be able to do it the way that I traditionally order stuff. I'm going to have to put an initial order in and then figure out how to manage that within the construct of their normal ordering process. So that's finishing polish. I'm really torn because the car looks so good. I wanted to test out Cancoat as like a much simpler solution to do, but man, I really just want to finish the job and lock in all this work. The original plan was to get it set up, make sure the water spots don't come back. I think I should probably still do that in case they come back from a few heat cycles out in the sun, from sun to shade, sun to shade, sun to shade, a few washes, see what happens. But all I have left to do is polish the taillights, the trunk, this side of the car, just the lower half, and then it's done for the polishing part. And then I'll probably make a video doing, we'll see. I don't want to say it, that I'm going to do Cancoat or not. We'll see how I'm feeling when it's time to do that. I did a little less formal, episodic series on this car and just kind of showed you some of the stuff I was working on. But that's a stinger right there. Cost me $1,600 for a new bumper and new paint. Of course, I could have sent it somewhere and had them blend it or repaint it or whatever, but to me, it's just easier. Just give me a new bumper and we'll ship it to me ready to bolt on. So make sure to check out Inside the Hex. I'm vlogging today. So if you're not a member, go become one. Share lots of business insights in there. See you soon.